What's up everybody, Ryan here, coming at you from Beechwood, Ohio. Got this carrier unit. I was here months ago. I made a short about coming to you from inside the condensing unit. What's up guys? Currently coming to you from inside a condenser on a carrier package unit. Well, I'm back. We got a condenser fan motor that's bad. I believe it's this one or that, I don't remember. I think it's that one in the middle. I'll have to go back and look at my notes. And also a blower motor that has some loud bearings starting to make some noise. I believe it was pulling high amps as well. So 2 motors today, Beechwood, Ohio. The sun is shining. It is very nice out today. So right off the bat, I checked power to confirm that our power's off. These are 480 volt units, so you definitely want to make sure the power's off. We're not talking about 120 volt furnace here. You want to be very careful when you're working on higher voltage, 208, 230, 460, 480. Could change your life, so I always confirm. In fact, I check voltage with the power on, all 3 legs, and then all 3 legs to ground, then I shut it off. I check again. Yeah, guys, if I can stress one thing, in my opinion, the most dangerous thing I do as a light commercial service tech is the electricity. You can't see it. You can only measure it with a meter. You have to be extra vigilant, extra careful to make sure that voltage is off. Don't just rely on, well, the lights on the board went off when I turned the power off. If I can stress anything to any guys that are getting into this trade, into this field specifically, where you're working on equipment that's higher voltage, 480 volts, do your due diligence, make sure that power's off. You don't want to get hit with it. With that being said, I don't know which one I'm going to tackle first. Probably the condenser fan motor, because there's a little bit more involved as far as routing the wires. I don't believe the wires are so long that it's going to make its way all the way back to the electrical panel, but I could be wrong. Let's take a peek here. All right, we've got some decently long wires, so we're going to be running these as far as it'll get us. What I'm assuming is it's gonna get us to here. I don't remember, I zip tied everything back up, but yeah, that's short. It was freezing when I was here. So we got a capacitor, a blade, a motor, and for some reason they've been sending the grills. If they send it, I put it on. What are you gonna do? So, power's off, let's get to work. It's probably good that they sent that new grill, because this one's broke a couple of spots. This motor was shorted to ground. It was blowing fuses. There's a lot of slop in that shaft. I disconnected all the wires and left them bundled up. That way it wasn't blowing the fuses anymore. We'll get these all pinned back up here, but looks like our wires are just gonna travel right through and connect in that blower compartment. How are these ones looking? We got some broken zip ties here. We'll make sure to get these all zipped up as well. Yeah, no real way to get in here unless you split the coils or hop in through the top. Man, I've been climbing inside a lot of carrier units lately. Anyway, I'm gonna get this taken back down to the ground. We can get the new motor swapped out, put it on that new grill, get the fan blade put in place, get everything there, and then we'll get this wiring routed. All right, grab all my tools and get them over here so I can work down there. Well, these condenser fan motors have studs that come up through and have nuts. I have nuts in my van, but what I like to do is take a wire wheel to them, try to clean them up, try to get them off of there. That's just one less trip down to the van that I got to take to get nuts. $11:30 seconds, and it broke. And it broke. And it broke. That one came off. So we're 1 for 4 on reusing the nuts. I'm off to the van. I've got the stud and a nut I'm gonna take down just so I make sure I get the right size nuts. I also want to get some lock washers. All right. Well, let's see if I can remember where the hell I put stuff. I moved into this new van. I don't quite remember where the hell everything is. It's more organized than my old van, but sometimes when things are organized, for me, they're harder to find. Got what I need. This is the kind of roof I like here. Very promising for a tool hunt. Package units. As far as the eye can see, that's a potential for forgotten tools. And if they're here, I'll sniff them out. I always start at least one from underneath. Oh, I can flip it over. Washer on there and my next nut. You don't want to kill it. Get it on. So now we've got our motor mounted to our grill. Here we go. All right, so we got the stuff up here. So the tricky part now is getting in the unit, getting the wire fed through into the electrical compartment, and we can flip this motor over and screw it down. So I'm gonna position it like this for now. Get these wires push through this hole. And then we're gonna push the wires through here. I've got one wire successfully pushed through. There seems to be a void in the wires right here along the bottom. Brown went through no problem. Go, get in there. Freaking thing. Fucking brown went right through. Oh yeah, I see some light. Just gonna follow the light. There it is. There we go. 2 out of 3 wires. Let's see if we can get this third wire. All right, we're all zip tied up there. We are zip tied up here. As good as we're gonna get for now. I just have to pull this motor over, and I think I'm just gonna pull the slack out of it and zip tie it on the other side of the wall. That'll keep everything nice and tight and not drooping down. Back up on top. I'm gonna go ahead and slide this in. I'm gonna get this little conduit started through the hole, flip it over, screw it down. We're gonna have slack hanging underneath, but I'm gonna pull it tight through the other side and get everything zip tied up nice. All right, so I've got all the screws around. I've got the conduit that's holding the wires in place. Let's see if I can get a little spin on this guy. There we go. Nothing's hitting. That's a good sign. So now we are done on top of this unit. Man, what a beautiful day. Look at that chemtrail. All right, so we have that slack on the other side. I'm just gonna pull that all nice and tight. I'm gonna get it all zip tied to this bundle. That way we don't have any potential for that wire to, you know, slide back in, get loose, and get hit by that fan blade. We're all zip tied up, landed on the new capacitor, and landed on the terminal block here for power. So we're all set. All we gotta do is replace the blower motor and cycle everything, make sure everything's good to go. And this makes it nice here. I do like that. 1, 2, and 3. We can go ahead and get this motor unbolted, get it out, get the pulley set. This pulley is very worn. I'll show you more once I get it out, but it's very worn. And the bearings are making noise. Get my gloves on. I usually bust my knuckles up when I'm doing this type of stuff, so I'm making an effort to try and wear gloves more often. They get in the way, but they will protect your hands. Gloves coming off. Oh yeah. All right, so basically got the motor disconnected from the adjustment plates here. We'll put it right back in place according to the dirt outline. Get everything bolted back in. This nut is lodged in there because I had to back the bolt out because it was hitting the motor. I couldn't get everything scooted over quite enough. So we're in good shape now. We were never in bad shape. So I got the motor set up right here. Get the electrical taken apart, get the box connector out, get the wiring put back on the new motor, and we'll be all set. How worn that pulley is. Over tighten the motor, possibly caused some damage to the bearings, but it's extremely worn. I don't believe this is a really old unit. It's a 2012, so it's no spring chicken, that's for sure. Got our new motor up here on the ladder. I marked down T1, T2, T3 according to the wire colors. That way we can hopefully get the correct rotation on it, and if not, we can just swap one of these wires, but I always like to get it right on the first try if I can. So I'm gonna get this wired up. I'm gonna get the pulley on and then put it in place. I'm not gonna tighten the pulley down though, because I believe we're not gonna have enough space between the end of the shaft of the motor and the blower housing to get that pulley on there. So before you bolt the whole motor in and then realize, oh shit, I can't get the freaking pulley on, I'm just gonna slide it on, get it on there, and then we'll adjust belt, get it nice and straight, get the tension right on it. But don't make that mistake. You get your motor bolted in, you're all set, you go to put the pulley on and realize I can't get it on because you only have this much space between the end of the shaft and the blower housing. We are all wired up for high voltage, so you just basically follow the diagram. Wire nut the wires together, let's say. It's like T1, T2, T3 to L1, L2, L3. I went ahead and wired that up just the way I wrote it down. Pink and yellow, purple and brown, black and red all get wire nutted together independently. Those two, those two, those two, and then these three, white, gray, and blue, all together. Check these wire nuts all over, make sure I don't have any stragglers, tape them up, get them tucked away into the electrical compartment, get the panel on there. We'll get that pulley, wherever it is, adjusted close and on the shaft, and get it in place and bolted down. I've got the pulley set to the distance that the old one was at. Nothing's tight. I've got the pulley on the shaft loose. You want to make sure you get your keyway out far enough that it doesn't get bound up on the cut in on the shaft for the keyway, because at the end it slopes up, and if you get that all jammed up, you won't be able to slide your pulley all the way on, because as you can see from this one, this pulley has to go on pretty far. We got a significant amount of the shaft sticking out, and if you don't have your keyway out enough, it'll bind up and you won't be able to get that thing shoved closer to the motor, because the pulley itself actually passes past the cutout for the keyway right here. So I like to get them on. You only need the keyway here for the set screw to lock the pulley down in place. We've got another smaller keyway here for the adjustment of the pulley, but keep that in mind when you're putting these in, because once you get it in there, and if you don't have enough room, you're not going to be able to get it off. Everything's going to be bound up. You're not going to get your pulleys straight, and your belt will be crooked, and you'll be wearing through belts and wearing through pulleys if you don't have it right on the money. So that's the way I do it. If that helped, good. If not, whatever. Now I'm gonna get everything kind of straightened up and ready for the motor to come back down. I'm gonna get everything bolted in. I'm not gonna record it because you saw me take it apart. I'm just gonna do everything in reverse, get everything straightened up, get this motor so it's straight, not cockeyed. And we'll come back, get the belt on, make sure everything's tight and straight. I'm gonna go get my grease gun. We're gonna grease these bearings. Doesn't look like they've been greased lately. We got the one here, and then we have this fitting here that runs to a tube across the blower housing and down to the other bearing. Hopefully it's attached, I don't know. I'm gonna send a bunch of grease that its way, and we'll go from there. There's really no other way to grease that bearing without pulling the lid off and seeing if it's attached, but I'm sure it is. Okay, I've got the motor mounted to the adjustment brackets. I don't have any of this locked down yet, but I kind of wanted to show you here what I was talking about with the pulley. Now look, you see, that thing can't come off now because there's not enough distance between the end of the shaft and the blower housing. So you want to think about things like that before you mount your motor and go through all the trouble of getting all the bolts to line up, because it was a little difficult to get everything straight considering these are two separate mounting brackets. But we got it, we're all set, everything looks straight so far. I got these nuts off on the back side just so I have some adjustment, and then if I need to force the motor this way, I'll just back these nuts off and run the motor to my left with these nuts, and then lock it down, and also lock down the bolts that allows the adjustment plates to slide. But first thing I want to do is get my belt on, make sure it's straight. If I have to do any kicking of the motor left or right, I can do that while everything's loose, and then we'll lock everything down, get these bearings greased, check amp draw, check AC, make sure that fan is good and not hitting or anything like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and get all this buttoned up, straightened out, tightened down, and I'll be back when it's time to grease these bearings. All right, we are all tightened down. All 4 adjustment bolts, all 4 motor mount bolts, our adjustment nuts on the adjustment bolts here, which we are maxed out. I'm gonna recommend we put a smaller belt, maybe an A48. That'll shorten up the length of the belt and give us a little bit more adjustment. We can crack these nuts, bring the motor in a little bit, re-tension it. I don't like to see a motor maxed out on its adjustment, because when the belt stretches, you have no room to, I know you should replace the belt, but that doesn't always happen, and you have to tighten the belt up. But on this one, there is no tightening it up anymore unless you adjust the pulley in, but you don't really want to do that. But we are good and tight. I always like to tell apprentices that work with me, if you're doing this kind of replacement or repair work where you have a bunch of nuts and bolts and set screws and things that need tightened down, do whatever you need to do to remember to tighten everything. Like I've said in other videos, it's a long ride home, and when you're second guessing yourself, did I tighten that, you know? Because it's only going to take a day or two and a loose pulley for that thing to come loose, make a bunch of noise, belt thrown, and causing an issue. Then there's a return call back, and you were the last one there. So do whatever you got to do. Take a picture of me tightening the pulley, making sure everything's tight. I like to recommend setting a reminder on your phone. Everybody has one of these in their pocket, and you can tell this thing to do whatever you want it to do. If you know you're doing a blower replacement, you know, say set a reminder for 2:30 to double check that everything's tight. Because like I said, a lot of the places we work, I'm in Cleveland, I'm an hour and a half away from home. I'd hate to be an hour home and think, oh man, did I remember to tighten that? So that's one thing I can stress. Well, two things: make sure the power's off and make sure everything is tight. So I'm heading down to get the grease gun. We're gonna grease those bearings up, and then it's gonna be time to start this thing up. Got the grease gun. The last thing here for the motor is to reattach all 3 wires. We're gonna be good to go here. The sun is shining, the sky is clear, feeling pretty good, optimistic about life lately, even though I shouldn't be. Got the grease gun. Boom, we're gonna grease these suckers up. I like to give it a little spin while I'm greasing. I don't know if that's what you're supposed to do, but that's what I was taught. There it is, we got grease coming out. You don't want to overdo it, make a big mess. One bearing greased, lovely. And then, like I said earlier, the second one is here, and it has a tube that goes across the blower housing into the, it's piped right into the bearing. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that one greased, and we're gonna be good to go here. Kind of a balancing act, trying to keep your grease gun on the attachment and spin. That's about 8 pumps. I can't get a visual on that bearing, so I'm gonna call that good. I didn't have to pump a lot into this bearing before grease started coming out, so I think we're probably good. There's gonna be grease in that line that runs over there, so whatever you pump grease in, it's gonna push all that grease back over and into that bearing. I like it. So there's nothing left to do but take a look at our condenser fan motor one last time. New capacitor, look over your wiring one last time. I think we're good. Meter's still there because we checked to make sure power was off before we got started. Our amp draw, I believe, is 5.4, 5.3. So that's what we're looking for. The first thing I want to do is check rotation before I shut the door. I want to make sure this motor is spinning this direction, just like it says here, because it's a 3-phase motor. If you have one of the legs backwards, it's going to rotate the opposite direction. So we're going to check rotation, and then of course we're going to shut the blower door and check amp draw. The motor always draws higher amps if you leave this door open. So if you're ever checking amp draw, make sure everything is shut and things are good. But for what we're about to do now, I want to make sure that the rotation's right. Just going to jump out G before I apply power. Yeah. There we are. R, G. And we are going the right direction. Can feel that air pulling in. I don't hear anything squealing. There we go. Make sure those are good and tight. Okay, which one of these is our blower? That's it. 5.3 is what we're looking for, and we're at 4.28, 4.13. So I'm just looking for blue now that has amp draw on it. Is it this one? Nope. Is it this one? Nope. It's got to be this one. Get on there. There it is, 4.1. So we're under. We're good. All right, so next thing we're gonna do is kick on AC. Make sure that this fan kicks on, has no issues. I don't believe or anticipate that we're gonna. So I'm gonna go ahead and kill power. All right, let's go ahead. I got Y1, Y2 jumped out, G, all jumped out to R. So, ooh, I hear condenser fans, I hear compressors. This one's not running. Those two are. Why is that going on? If we got another bad condenser fan motor, I'm gonna be kind of laughing. Let's look into this and see why this thing isn't running. It's running backwards. Well, I think I found it. Look at that. I had a wire off. One of these wires is powering this terminal block. The other 3 wires are going to each condenser fan motor. So it's always good. I mean, not that people are putting things in and not checking. Well, I guess I can't say. It definitely happens. I run into that more often than you'd think. But it's always good to test and make sure that's loose. Let me squeeze that down a little bit so it bites on a little bit, but I believe that's going to be our issue. We had a wire off. So tighten that down, get it reapplied, and we should have all 3 condenser fan motors working. There we go. I bet you when I zip tied everything, that fucker's loose, man. Oh, it snapped off. Okay, time for a new connector. Beautiful, nice and tight. Everything looks good here. Let's go again. Oh yeah, little bad wire connection right there. That's running. I know the frame rate of the camera makes it look like it's running slow, but believe me, it is running at full speed. All 3 of them are. They're running. They look good. I'm happy. I'm gonna go ahead and check. Where's my, oh no, son of a bitch. Where are my freaking temperature probes? Where the hell was I yesterday? Those damn UEI temperature probes. I left them in Cranberry Township. I got Jenna heading that way. She's in Pittsburgh. I'm in Cleveland. She's gonna check and make sure and recover them for me. Those things are probably my #1 most lost tool, UEI temperature probes. Anyway, I think we're good to go on this, everybody. All right, guys, that's gonna do it for this one. If you liked the video, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell icon. That'll notify you anytime I got a new video coming out. Leave me a comment, hit like. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you on the next one.